Your Relationship Show with Laura Rubinstein and the awesome and wonderful Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. Hi, Rhoberta.
Hello, Laura. We've been away for a little while, and here we are talking about yet another way to create closeness in your relationship.
Yeah, I think people think they're close, but not always feel they're close. Like they're wondering, how can we get closer to our friends, to our intimate partners? And so maybe we should start talking about what is a healthy relationship and or healthy love.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting you asked that question because it occurred to me about 6 months ago, because I work with people who are in relationships that are dysfunctional and toxic. Had I ever said to them, here's where we want to go, here is what healthy love is. And so I defined it this way, which might be helpful to people to think about. Healthy love is when you consciously create a relationship that has autonomy of both people. So both people have the opportunity to show up as their real selves. They're honored and respected for who they are. And then the relationship functions with equality, reciprocity, and mutuality, which we've talked about before. And then it's demonstrated by the 5 relational gifts from my book, Kaizen for Couples, which are honesty, safety, trust, respect, and reliability. So when the autonomy is there, when the must-haves of a healthy relationship are there, when the demonstration of the mutual giving of 5 gifts are there, then you have potential for creating healthy love and partnership.
Oh,
And I'm meaning partnership in that sense as a partner for life, right?
And that's like a really strong foundation when you have those things.
It's almost a must-have, because if you don't have equality, reciprocity, and mutuality, you have nothing. And if people recognize that they maybe never saw that in action or didn't receive it in their primary relationships before, and they say, that's the key, then you two can work on that together. But if with the people I work with, they're looking for it from a person I call a hijackal, a toxic person, they will never give it. And so you can spend your entire relationship longing to figure out how to get them to treat you in ways that are equal, reciprocal, and mutual, and they will never, ever, ever do it. And years can go by. So this is really important information to gather.
Yeah, and it's almost like a checklist. It's like versus trying to get it to see if it actually exists. Is there mutuality? Is there respect? Is there reciprocity? Is there reliability? Is there safety here? Is there, do I feel? And if you can check off all the boxes, you've got green lights. I mean, I know I felt a green light, and it was like such a gift, because it's everything the highest thing was that I always said I wanted to consciously co-create a relationship with my life partner. And when I was dating my now husband at the time, he said, I really want to do that. I want to, and I didn't prompt it. It just came out. He was like, I want to work on our relationship over time. And I'm like, green light, that went on the checklist, And so if we can have a little distance while we're in a relationship, look at our own actions, reactions, look at our partner at the time and or friend at the time, reactions and actions, then you can look at this list and say, are we on solid ground? Despite my fears, despite my doubts, my own self-criticism, whatever, what is here? What do we have to work with? Is it a healthy foundation, and or do we have to have a conversation about something and see if it's what's possible? And I hear what you're saying in relationships with hijackals, those difficult people who are chronically that way, you may not ever get there.
Yeah, they don't have those gifts to give. They're unwilling to give them if they do have them, because they always need to be living in inequality. They need to believe they're the smartest person in the room or their relationship, and they're always looking for power over to meet the needs and the places within themselves that are unfulfilled. And so they're looking for that. And then they will rob you of a whole lot and give you very little. So that's important. But in a healthy relationship, or a relationship that has the potential of being healthy, we really need those things. I actually wrote an ebook about creating healthy love, and it's available at the store on emergingempowered.com, so that people could really have some things to think about. Like, am I creating healthy love? Is love available here? Healthy love available here? What do I really need to think about? What have I learned about healthy love? Have I ever experienced it? Lots of things there. And that's a wonderful basis. If you've experienced relationships that felt unequal, why not have a template to see what you need to do to create one that would feel equal?
Yeah, I think we're creating one here, and you've got the ebook. And some other things I might add to the list is, when a relationship is filled with criticism or blame, you've kind of nixed the opportunity for closeness and healthy love, right?
Well, absolutely. If someone is looking to have an edge over you all the time, which is blaming you all the time, instead of saying, what I call about it is sitting down with your partner and being able to put it on the television. In other words, instead of putting the problem between you, you put it on the television and sit down and say, that's our problem. What do you think we ought to do about it? But if you have the problem between you, then you're wrestling over who wants what and who's doing it more poorly, and all that. And if you can sit down and say, there's our problem, let's flesh it out. What's really going on? What would we like to see as a solution? Then you're in a healthier space.
Hmm.
Because if you're with one of these difficult people, they will never admit that the problem is there. And the closest thing they will come to admitting the problem is there is to make it your problem.
Yes, and as long as it's your problem, then they can talk about it, right?
Well, they can keep blaming you and
Right.
showing you why it's your problem, but it won't solve anything.
And it's not really the truth necessarily.
No, it's not the truth at all in most cases. It's just that they're avoidant and they cannot entertain the idea of anything being wrong with them.
Right.
So therefore, it must be your problem.
Yes. And if, I wonder if some people feel close enabling that, because they're like, that's how we stay close. And is that health? That's
Exactly.
not really a healthy closeness.
No, no. And for those people who don't understand enabling or want to hear a new way of thinking about it, enabling is when you frequently step in, or usually step in, to fix or solve or rationalize or justify behaviors in a relationship, or here's the big one, or make the consequences go away for the poor choices of another person. So if you are enabling somebody and calling it closeness, as you wisely pointed out, you really want to put on your clarity glasses, because enabling just keeps you in an up-down situation all the time. And you keep thinking, well, I am being the kind one. I am being the one with latitude. I am always here. And they are always using you.
And you think they are loving you because you're enabling them, because you're making them right, and you're solving their problems, and you're justifying and protecting them and saying, no, they're not doing that. They're no, no, no. We love each
Yeah.
other. We're la, 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 you know.
Or they say, oh, well, my partner's under terrible stress. Oh, if you had a background like my partner had, you might behave that way too. My partner just needs to be loved into a place of safety. No, 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 no. Those things are not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not closeness. That's, what would you call it?
Well, I would call it dysfunction.
Yes. Ding, 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 dysfunction. And it's true. And it's very subtly masked form, because it seems like I'm so loving. I'm doing all this for my partner, and my partner is like treating me okay, because of it, or, really needs it. They're like, oh, they need it. So I'm helping them. We need each other. So neediness versus closeness. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Neediness. Yes, we need one another. Basic to being alive is knowing that we can't survive alone. If you were born and left, your mother just birthed you and left you, you're done, right? So we know we need people, and that's healthy because we're interactive. We see each other. We can contribute to one another's lives. When we're little, people take care of us and allow us to survive. The idea is to become autonomous as you grow, to say, I can take care of myself. I'm good. I can manage. And I recognize that life is healthier generally when there is a healthy partner involved. We can see lots of studies that people live longer when they're in a good relationship. Their health is not as likely to deteriorate. There's lots and lots of evidence of how relationships impact health and longevity. But just the fact that another person is breathing in your bedroom is not enough. You have to have this ability to have that person be there for you and you be there for them. A long time ago, Grey's Anatomy pointed out that, that's my person. That's the one person I know I can go to who will never reject me, will always tell me the truth, will always be there. And we need a person. Even in the grander scheme of things in the universe, in subatomic particles and quantum physics, there are things called gluons. They're absolutely integral to the world working, and they come in pairs. So it is a primary thing to be in pairs. For those of you who like the Noah's Ark story, there you go. But we need healthy pairs, not just any old pairs. So we need to be a healthy participant in a relationship. What are we bringing as opposed to what are we relying on the other person to make up for? So it requires a lot of introspection to know, well, am I a healthy contributor to this relationship? Or do I have expectations of the other person that I don't have of myself? And we'll get resentment there, which is the antithesis of closeness.
Yeah. And if resentment is building, that means something's not communicated. There's an unfulfilled expectation. There's something going on that is not in balance and not communicated, and now obviously not in a healthy way. So, so you talked about, well, there may be too much neediness, like, going on, and then there could be this, we're autonomous, and then I've seen people go the opposite way. They don't even let anybody, they're not used to, there's a lot of people who've been single for a while, don't know how to let someone in, to have this connected way of supporting each other.
And you may have been in a previous relationship that was unsafe and you will long for it, but you're afraid that it won't be there. So you deny yourself it because you don't know how to ensure that it's there. And you can't ensure that it's there, but you can check that the potential for it is there. And that's important. If we start meeting people because we're looking for a partner, we start meeting people and we're just happy that they like us, we can go seriously south with that because we're not asking them to show up in particular ways. I do a lot of memes on my Facebook page at Hijackals, and it's really important to remember that when you're dating someone, they are auditioning for a starring role in your life. And if you don't see them as a starring role in your life, you just see them as they want me to be their audience. No. But if you haven't had anything that taught you how to believe that you deserve to have a fully functioning partner and how to figure that out and how to solve issues with somebody, you can get trapped yet again in a place where you are meeting the needs of somebody in the case of hijackals who are demanding and controlling, but maybe the needs of somebody who is so passive or so passive aggressive that you can't get close to them either, because they never take responsibility for who they are and how they are. And yes, it's asking a lot for us all to be healthy, but what a world it would be if we were all working on being healthy.
Wow, that's a concept. That's my vision. I wish there's a world where people are feeling their power. Power comes from taking responsibility. I mean, true, authentic power is when you can take responsibility for your part in anything. Not saying that you're responsible for all of it, but is there a part? I remember when the Twin Towers came down, I said to myself, what is my responsibility in this? How did I contribute to this? And is there anything I can shift in my energy, in decisions I make, in people I connect with going forward, so that this never happens in my world again? And I just really feel that when we can do that and we can all look at it from a place of humbleness, not blame, not shame, not criticism, guilt, but from how can I create a better world for me and those around me? Then if we're always coming from that, we won't have the disagreements we have. We won't have the hatred we have. We will have more healthier relationships, more harmony in the world, and more happiness in our lives.
Well, we can have the disagreements.
Yeah,
But we
absolutely.
need to be wise enough to say, is this vital to our having a healthy relationship? I can certainly have a disagreement that, I love Thai food and you hate it. Okay, we disagree. I have a particular religious belief and you don't have it. Maybe we can disagree. But if it is vital to respect, if it's vital to daily living, another one of the memes that I put up and people seem to really resonate is you don't have to make someone wrong to know they're not right for you. So when we get into that place where we think, oh, well, this is wrong and this is wrong, why not just reduce your energy use and say, love them, leave them. They're not right for me. They're not wrong. They're just not right for me. And so if we have dysfunction in our life that maybe was given to us by the home we grew up in or whatever happened, and that's how we're formed. It's an ongoing process of formation. Then there are healthier ways to learn and let these things be learning situations, not terrible disasters, but learning situations. And yes, there's pain involved, but what are you learning from the pain? One of my favorite sayings, which probably I heard 40 years ago, was when I was first looking at Buddhism, and it said, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. That's attributed to the Buddha. And people seem to want to avoid pain, which makes sense. But if pain exists, let's look to see where the wisdom of the pain is. What can I learn from the pain that will allow me to grow? Not to suffer, oh, well, that person should never have done this. This is terrible, and the world's a terrible place, and people are awful. I'll never trust again. No, let me just say, what do I need to do? Just like you were saying about your introspection, about responsibility. Okay, what did I learn from this? What is better for me? What do I want to move toward? And that's a focus that many people feel very, very good about when they actually turn it around. What am I moving toward rather than focusing on what am I moving away from?
Yeah, and what do I wanna create, right? What do I wanna
Yeah.
it is a creative process. What do I want for myself? And that goes back to the self-esteem and the feeling that we deserve to have happiness and take up space and speak what we want and need. And, a lot of people feel not able to do that for one reason or another, even if they want to have somebody else in their life so badly, they're afraid of being alone, that it clouds the rest of their happiness, what
It's
they're
true.
fulfilling. And it's so apparent to me when to see it. and it's their journey. What advice would you give to someone who may be on that path of they are more wanting that closeness, but at the expense of their own happiness?
Well, wanting closeness is a beginning point for introspection. What does that mean to me? Does that mean someone accepts me as I am? Great. Does it mean that someone needs me? Not so great. What does it really mean to want closeness? I was at a group the other day where people were chatting about why do we come to this group? And everybody went around and said why. And I was near the end and I said, one of the great attractions of this group for me is I don't have to explain myself. People are already functioning in a way that they understand me. They understand what I'm up to. They understand why I do what I do. I don't have to explain myself. That's the kind of thing that you want in a relationship. When someone is so aligned with you that they go, oh, that's wonderful. That's good. I'm curious about this and that, but not saying, well, you shouldn't be like that, or that takes up too much of your time, or why do you bother with that? How do you keep balance in your life? There are always people in the world who want to make you wrong so that they can feel superior, and you can't get close to those people. And it's a huge thing to allow yourself to realize it has nothing to do with you when somebody has conditions that exclude you. They're constantly trying to exclude you from being good enough. And if you ever settle for that, then you've just walked into a trap. So ask yourself the question, what does closeness mean? Why do I want it? How do I offer it? And how will I know if I have it? And if it is imbalanced in any way, then you will notice it prior by your thought about it. And you will definitely notice when you get into it. Like it could be something simple, Laura, and I know you know all this, but just for the discussion, if you meet a new person and you meet them, and I say, meet them 3 times, and by the 3rd time, they are still only talking about themselves, just say to yourself, I'm not going to make this person wrong, but I know they're not right for me. Now, the tendency is to say, do you talk about yourself all the time? No, just observe. Like if that's the way it is, no, that won't work for me. And they're showing me who they are. I don't need to ask questions about it. I can observe. But if we say, oh, well, I could change that when I get into the relationship, or they will care about me more, maybe not. So let's not be in such a great rush to create closeness that we don't see with whom we're endeavoring to create that closeness.
Awareness is key, and really acknowledging where you're at is what I'm hearing and what other people are doing, and being willing to stand up for yourself and by action, not by speaking, yeah, you're not for me, but by action and taking the action of choosing to go find the right person, or choosing to get out of a situation that could go down a path that you won't eventually be happy in. So I really appreciate the questioning and the introspection. I feel like the dating process is such a rich personal growth time. It's, so is being in a relationship, but you get to really question yourself and grow. And I found the more I questioned myself and clarified what felt good to me, what felt like an even exchange, what felt like I was being respected, and I took the actions to either have another date or not have another date, and move on, really helped me. I saw the quality of the type of person I was attracting, the capability, I mean, not the quality, but the capacity of that person to have closeness grow. Because I remember the first people I was dating were not what, emotionally available. That's how I characterize them. Then they wanted me, they loved me, but they still didn't want to commit, right? And as I grew as a person, those people, then all of a sudden, 3 years later down the road of dating all these people, it was like, then men started showing up who wanted to be in relationship and wanted to commit. And I'm like, oh, then I'm starting to say, but is there any more room for growth for me before I settle down? I'm one of these people, it was like, am I sure? Am I done growing yet? In this way. And so it becomes a really empowering place to be.
Well, also, though, people, I think, have another aspect of it. They're meeting somebody and thinking about them as a potential partner, but they've always got one eye thinking, is there something better? And if you find yourself in that situation, there's work to be done, because yes, there are billions of people, but what is it that you really want? When do you want it? What's available to be created? Sure, you can have a great relationship with lots of people, but when you find enough of the things that are really important to you, and then you look into, say, what else is there? How do they function? How do we have conversations? How do we solve issues? How do we communicate with each other? How do we grow together into a unit? Then you find out the willingness aspect. And if they're not willing at this time, then move on. But if you're in a relationship with someone where things have slid, that there's what I call slippage. We're no longer respectful. We speak in shorthand. We expect our partner to know what we're thinking. We dismiss our partner and think they should understand that, I love you, but, I don't have time to talk to you nicely. All kinds of things are slippage in that word. There's just so much that can slip. And if you sit down with your partner and say, I think we have a lot of slippage, and here's where I'm slipping, and you can have a conversation about it, you can really deepen and revive a relationship when there's willingness to have those conversations. But if the person has really enjoyed, okay, I got you, and now I'm going to take you for granted, and I don't want to talk about not doing that because I'm busy having my own life in my head and elsewhere, then you need to observe that maybe that's not okay with you anymore.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people running around taking each other for granted in ways that are devaluing.
Yeah. It's very sad when that happens. And I love the idea of having those open conversations. And for me, it's about being vigilant, so that the slippage, if I notice it in myself first, I correct it. Then I see, is there slippage on the other side? Do we need to have a conversation, or do I need to make an apology and recommit? And I find gratitude is a very healing communication. And I just would love to end today's talk on gratitude, bringing that into creating closeness. Because I think when you've built that solid foundation, you can build upon it with a lot of gratitude for acknowledging that person for all they're doing in their life and in your life, and the contribution they are as that icing on the cake, or as, like, I'm not there to be needy of them, but they are there enriching. This is like, I feel like my relationship is pure luxury, because we have this back and forth respect and reciprocity, mutuality, quality conversations. When there's slippage, we both come back to acknowledging it, and then being grateful. Being utterly grateful for that enhances the whole experience of closeness for me.
Oh, I agree with you. And be grateful to yourself for your contribution, or your openness, or your willingness to consider that even though something does not actually ring my chimes, I happily do it because it rings yours. And that's mutuality.
Yeah.
So having gratitude for yourself, having gratitude to the relationship, having gratitude to the partner for specific things is a great, great foundation, because it reminds us to tell another person and ourselves what we appreciate.
And that is positive energy generating and really great for relationships and our own psyche.
It
So
is.
I wish everyone to cultivate the closeness in healthy relationships that they want. And thank you, Roberta, for your wisdom as always. And we will be back next time. And for more information, go to emergingempowered.com. Get Rhoberta's Healthy Love ebook, amongst other things, transformtoday.com or femininepowercards.com for some tools to help you stay centered within you in your feminine energy. Thanks, Rhoberta.
Thanks, Laura. Talk soon.